If you've ever had a moment of real clarity, or maybe in meditation or walking in nature, maybe waking up in the middle of the night, maybe in ceremony, and then watched it vanish by breakfast the next day, this is for you. Last week I talked about why that happens. Today I want to go a good bit deeper because the answer may not be what you think. It's not that you need a better practice. It's not that you didn't concentrate hard enough. It's not that this isn't for you. It's that the insight never landed in your body. It stayed up here, in your cranium, where we've been trained to keep everything. And that's what I want to explore today. Over the course of our lives as people raised in the modern West, we've been enculturated into believing incorrectly that our salvation lies in achieving greater understanding. Think about that for a second. From the time we were children, the message was crystal clear. The brain is in charge. Everything below the neck, that's the meat vehicle. That's the support staff. Your job is to think clearly, understand deeply, and figure stuff out. And this isn't anyone's fault. It's the water that we swim in. Some have called it the cranial takeover. And I think that's exactly right, the cranial takeover. We've elevated this thinking brain of ours and demoted everything else. And here's how it actually shows up. People meditate for years, for decades, and they still can't feel their feet. They can give you a beautiful explanation of emptiness or presence or non-duality or unique self or integral theory, but their jaw is clenched. Their shoulders are up around their ears. Their belly is locked tight. The understanding is there, yeah, for sure, but it hasn't gone anywhere. It's just circulating around the head like a car with the engine running in the driveway. This isn't a criticism. I'm describing my own life. I'm describing what I see in almost every person I work with. We got really, really good at understanding, and we mistook that for transformation. Let me tell you how deep this went for me. I skipped second grade. I was physically small compared to my classmates. A year younger, a head shorter, and I built my entire identity about being the smart one. That was my thing. That's how I navigated a world that felt, quite frankly, a little dangerous for a small, maybe a little bit too clever kid. Understanding wasn't just a tool for me, it was who I was. If I could figure something out, I was safe. If I could grasp it intellectually, I could work with it. And that was the operating assumption for decades. My psychology training, my legal training and practice, even my contemplative work. And I know I'm not alone in this. If you're watching this, there's a pretty good chance you were the smart one too. The one who could figure things out, the one people came to for answers, maybe tutor them. And that worked until it didn't. When I first encountered Zen, I was 20 years old. That was back in 1975. Something cracked open a little bit. Here was a tradition that explicitly says thinking won't get you there. You can't think your way to Kensho. You can't understand your way to liberation. And I was drawn to that, deeply drawn. Years later, I spent 5 years studying at Zen Mountain Monastery in New York. But even then, even sitting zazen for hours at a time, days at a time, the body stayed in the background. The mind was still running the show. I was trying to understand my way into a tradition that was telling me understanding wasn't the point at all. In retrospect, 50 years I've spent trying to think my way free. That's the honest version. So here's what happened over the next several decades. I got into body-based practices of many different kinds. Core energetics, other kinds of somatic work, movement practices, yoga, deep body work. And always the pattern was the same. The body would show me something, and then the mind would rush in to explain it, to file it, to make it safe, to turn raw experience into a concept I could hold at arm's length. And the core issue, the thing under it all, was a lack of trust. The early brainwashing has a theme. Don't trust the non-cranial world. Don't trust sensation. Don't trust the gut. Don't trust the heart. And that distrust was a deeply ingrained habit, one supported by an entire culture that repeats this message again and again and again. So even when the body would break through, even when something would rise up that was undeniable, some moment of aliveness or grief or recognition that didn't come from thinking, I would immediately try to metabolize it through the mind, to try to understand it, to figure it out, because that's what felt safe. I want to be honest about how slow this process has been. This wasn't a weekend workshop revelation. This wasn't one breathwork session that changed everything. This has been decades of the body patiently, persistently showing me something, and of me slowly, imperfectly learning to trust what it was showing me. And what it was showing me was this: the move from identification as a separate self navigating a dangerous world with my wits to the divine, having a Ronin experience, surfing an eternal and timeless current of being. That's the shift. And it doesn't happen in the head. It can't happen in the head. It happens in the whole organism: body, heart, mind, spirit, all of it. Recently, I went through a series of deep bodywork sessions, and what came up wasn't new insight. It wasn't a new understanding. What came up was the old holding, decades of contraction that my body had faithfully maintained because at some point long ago, that contraction felt necessary for survival. Sound familiar? And when that contraction was released, what was underneath wasn't a concept. It was space. It was presence, aliveness that had been waiting there the whole time. The body had been holding the door open for years. I just hadn't trusted enough to walk through. So let me pull back from my story a moment and talk about what this actually means. What does it mean that the body knows? Because the body doesn't store insights as concepts. It stores them as capacity. The capacity to stay present when things get intense. The capacity to feel without shutting down. The capacity to let reality land without filtering it through understanding first. That's a different kind of knowing. That's not something you can get from a book. It's not something you can get from a lecture. It's not even something that you can get from a really good meditation session unless something in the body shifts. And that's the key. And that's why weekend workshops produce temporary highs. The body opens briefly. The mind goes, wow, that was amazing. And then the habitual contraction returns within days, sometimes within hours, because nothing was actually retained. The body didn't have enough time, enough sustained attention, enough safety to actually reorganize. The glimpse fades because it hasn't landed in the body. And the body is where transformation lives. My job, and I've come to understand this more clearly over the past several years, my job is to help folks reclaim the wholeness of their being, body, heart, mind, spirit, not as separate departments to be managed or somehow interconnected, but as one integrated vehicle for navigating our lives, for receiving reality, for participating in the aliveness that's already there. That's what embodied awakening means. Not awakening that happens to someone who also has a body. Awakening that includes the body, that lives in the body, that the body has been trying to show us all along. So here's what I want to leave you with. Right now, as you're listening to me, where do you feel this landing? Not what you think about it. Where in your body does something stir? Perhaps it's your chest. Maybe it's your belly. Maybe it's a softening somewhere you didn't expect. That, right there, is intelligence, the intelligence I'm talking about. It's already online. It's already working. The question is whether we're willing to trust it. If this resonates, drop a comment and tell me, when was the last time your body showed you something your mind hadn't quite figured out yet? I would really love to hear. Subscribe if you want to go deeper with this. I'm putting out new content every week on embodied awakening, what it is, what it isn't, and what it takes to actually live it. Thanks for being here. I'll see you next week.